Your geography textbook lied to you. Hawaii isn't in North America. The Great Wall isn't visible from space. And your maps are seriously wrong. Here are 50 geography facts that'll rewrite everything you know. Let's go. Fact 50. Antarctica isn't the South Pole. Antarctica is an entire continent made of ice, rock, and research stations, while the South Pole is just a single point where Earth spins on its axis. Think of Antarctica as the stage and the South Pole as the microphone stand in the middle. Most people use these terms interchangeably, but they're completely different things. One's a massive landmass. The other's literally just a location marker on that landmass. Fact 49. There are actually 4 South Poles. There's the geographic South Pole we use on maps, the magnetic South Pole where your compass points, the geomagnetic South Pole deeper in the magnetic field, and the pole of inaccessibility, which is basically the hardest spot in Antarctica to reach. So when someone says they're going to the South Pole, they could mean any of these 4 completely different places. Each one sits in a slightly different location on the continent. Next time someone mentions the South Pole, ask them which one they mean. Fact 48. The Atacama Desert holds a disturbing record. The Atacama Desert in Chile is the driest place on Earth, with some regions never seeing rain in over 500 years. NASA actually tests Mars rovers there because the conditions are so extreme. By comparison, the famous Sahara Desert gets a luxurious 3 inches of rain annually. The Atacama is so uninhabitable that it's the closest thing to another planet we have on Earth. Fact 47. Reno is further west than Los Angeles. Reno, Nevada sits 300 miles inland, yet it's geometrically further west than Los Angeles on the coast. Southern California's coastline curves southeast toward Mexico, pushing LA further east than you'd expect. This geographic paradox proves that coastal location doesn't guarantee being westernmost. It's a mind-bending contradiction that completely breaks how most people think about geography. Fact 46. New York drifts from London. Every year, New York moves exactly 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters, further from London every single year due to continental drift. This might sound insignificant, but over millions of years, it dramatically reshapes Earth's geography. The Atlantic Ocean floor is constantly spreading, pushing the continents apart in a measurable, ongoing process. It's happening right now as you watch this video. Fact 45. Finland isn't part of Scandinavia. Scandinavia technically includes only Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, not Finland. While Finland is part of the Nordic region geographically, linguistically, it's completely different. Finnish comes from the Uralic language family, totally unrelated to the Germanic roots of its neighbors. So while they share snow and cold winters, they don't share language or cultural roots. Fact 44. The Amazon might be longer than the Nile. The Nile had a long reign as the world's longest river, but Brazil's Amazon challenges that title. After multiple scientific expeditions, geographers found the Amazon edges out the Nile by roughly 60 miles depending on how you measure it. Measuring rivers is incredibly complex because they twist, split, and rejoin like a maze. Scientists still debate which is truly longest based on measurement methods. Fact 43. The Caspian Sea isn't actually a sea. The Caspian Sea is the world's largest lake, not a sea, despite its misleading name. It's completely landlocked between Europe and Asia with no ocean connection whatsoever. At 143,000 square miles, it's larger than Germany and holds more water than all the Great Lakes combined. The sea label stuck because it's salty, but geographically it's been a lake all along. Fact 42. Europe and Asia don't have a clear border. You'd think 2 continents this famous would have a solid boundary line, but geographers completely disagree on where Europe ends and Asia begins. Some use the Ural Mountains, others trace it along the Caucasus, and some follow rivers or seas. The truth is, Europe and Asia are technically one giant landmass called Eurasia. The division is more political and cultural than actually physical. Fact 41. Egypt isn't entirely in Africa. Egypt's pyramids might be African icons, but the country itself isn't fully African. The Sinai Peninsula, across the Suez Canal, sits squarely in Asia, making Egypt bridge two continents. This geographic position has made Egypt one of the most strategically important and symbolically powerful countries. It's the original middle ground between East and West throughout human history. Fact 40. Part of Kazakhstan lies in Europe. Kazakhstan isn't just an Asian country because everything west of the Emba River is technically in Europe. The same country famous for vast steppes and Borat memes is also partly European. Geography doesn't always fit neatly into cultural or political borders. Sometimes it's literally just a matter of which river you're standing beside. Fact 39. Russia is neither European nor Asian. Russia defies categorization, spanning 11 time zones across both continents simultaneously. Culturally, it leans European, but geographically, most of its massive landmass sits in Asia. Geographers often call it Eurasian because it literally couldn't decide. Russia's so enormous it said, why not both, to being split between continents. Fact 38. The world doesn't have 7 continents. We all memorized the 7 continents list, but it's not universal across the globe. Some parts of Europe and Latin America teach 6 continents, combining North and South America. Others teach 5, ignoring Antarctica altogether. Some modern models even merge Africa, Europe, and Asia into Afro-Eurasia, creating one mega-continent. There's no single correct answer. Fact 37. Iceland is literally growing every year. Iceland is getting bigger at about 5 centimeters annually because it sits on the boundary between tectonic plates. As the North American and Eurasian plates drift apart, new crust forms between them, adding fresh land. It's one of the few places on Earth where you can walk through a continental rift and physically see 2 plates separating. Iceland is actually getting bigger in real time. Fact 36. The Pacific Ocean is shrinking. The largest ocean on Earth is slowly getting smaller as the Americas drift west and Asia moves east. The Pacific shrinks by about 2 to 3 centimeters annually due to tectonic plates constantly shifting beneath the seafloor. This might seem insignificant, but over geological timescales, it dramatically reshapes ocean basins. Earth's oceans aren't static. They're constantly changing. Fact 35. The Netherlands is literally disappearing. About 1/3 of the Netherlands sits below sea level, with some areas dropping 22 feet beneath the ocean surface. Without the famous Dutch dike system, 65% of the country would flood completely. The lowest point, Zuidplaspolder, sits 23 feet below sea level and requires constant pumping to stay dry. The Dutch have been literally fighting the ocean for centuries just to exist. Fact 34. Lagos isn't Nigeria's capital anymore. Lagos might be Nigeria's beating heart, but Abuja became the capital in 1991 because it's centrally located and less congested. Abuja is home to government buildings, embassies, and Nigeria's first amusement park. Lagos might have the population and economic power, but Abuja holds the political power. The capital moved for strategic and practical reasons. Fact 33. Antarctica is the world's largest desert. Forget sand dunes. The world's biggest desert is made of ice, not sand. By definition, a desert is any arid region, not necessarily hot. Antarctica, with its brutal dryness and near-zero humidity, fits perfectly as a desert. It covers 5.5 million square miles, nearly twice the size of the Sahara. It's freezing, lifeless, and technically classified as a desert. Fact 32. The Sahara isn't even the second driest desert. The Atacama Desert in Chile is way drier than the famous Sahara. Some Atacama regions haven't seen rain in over 500 years compared to Sahara's 3 inches annually. NASA actually tests Mars rovers in the Atacama because conditions are so extreme. When it comes to dryness, Chile takes the crown from Africa. Fact 31. Deserts aren't always sandy. Thanks to Hollywood, we picture deserts as endless golden dunes, but most deserts are rocky, salty, or icy. The Atacama is a rocky plateau, the Gobi is covered in gravel, and Antarctica is pure ice. The only thing all deserts share is extreme dryness. not sand. So desert doesn't mean sand, it means extreme. Fact 30. Lake Baikal dwarfs the Great Lakes. Russia's Lake Baikal contains 20% of the world's unfrozen freshwater, more than all 5 Great Lakes put together. It's also the world's deepest lake at over a mile deep and oldest at 25 million years. The lake is so massive it creates its own weather systems and microclimate. It's essentially a freshwater ocean hiding in Siberia. Fact 29. The Earth isn't a perfect sphere. Earth isn't a perfect ball. It's an oblate spheroid, meaning slightly squished at the poles and puffed out at the equator. The planet's rotation causes this distinctive bulge. So imagine Earth not as a smooth marble, but as a slightly dented basketball. The equatorial bulge is measurable and affects everything from gravity to climate. Fact 28. Australia has the world's largest rock. Mount Augustus in Australia is the biggest rock on Earth, though its name is misleading. Despite the name Mount, it's actually a single massive rock formation rising over 2,300 feet above the outback. It's so huge it can be seen from nearly 100 miles away in the distance. Geologists estimate it's around 1.65 billion years old, one of Earth's oldest exposed surfaces. Fact 27. Mammoth Cave in Kentucky is massive. Deep beneath Kentucky lies the largest cave system on the planet, Mammoth Cave, with nearly 400 miles of mapped passages. Scientists believe another 200 miles of passages remain hidden and unmapped underground. It's a vast network of tunnels, chambers, and underground rivers stretching farther than any other cave system. Most of its depths remain a complete mystery. Fact 26. Antarctica isn't as big as it looks on maps. If Antarctica looks like it's taking over half your globe map, blame the Mercator projection. In reality, Antarctica is much smaller than it appears. You could fit the US and Mexico inside it. Map projections distort size dramatically near the poles, inflating Antarctica's apparent size. Geography and cartography aren't the same thing. Fact 25. The Missouri River is longer than the Mississippi. The Mississippi might have the fame, but the Missouri River actually stretches 200 miles longer. The Missouri is technically a tributary that snakes from Montana through the Dakotas before joining the Mississippi near St. Louis. So while Mississippi gets all the spotlight, Missouri quietly wins the race. It's a perfect case of the understudy outshining the star. Fact 24. Maine isn't the easternmost U.S. state. If you look at maps, Maine sticks out the farthest east, but Alaska is actually the easternmost state. Thanks to the 181st meridian slicing through the Aleutian Islands, parts of Alaska technically fall in the eastern hemisphere. One island, Semisopochnoi, sits just 10 miles west of that line, making it farther east than anywhere in Maine. Maps can be deeply deceptive. Fact 23. Hawaii isn't part of North America. Even though it's a U.S. state, Hawaii isn't part of North America. It's in Oceania geographically. Hawaii belongs to the Polynesian island chain, culturally and geographically linked to Samoa, Tonga, and Tahiti. Its people, language, and history are tied far more to the Pacific than to the mainland. Hawaii is basically a Pacific island that happens to be American. Fact 22. Europe isn't directly east of the U.S. If you flew straight east from New York, you wouldn't hit London. You'd probably end up somewhere in North Africa. Europe actually sits northeast of the US, not directly across. London is farther north than any of the lower 48 states, roughly level with Calgary, Canada. Geography isn't always what your compass suggests. Fact 21. The Gulf Stream doesn't really make Europe warm. We've all heard Europe's mild weather exists because of the Gulf Stream, but that's largely a myth. The real reason Europe doesn't freeze is atmospheric circulation that moves heat from tropics northward. The ocean helps somewhat, but the wind system is the primary factor. The Gulf Stream gets way too much credit for centuries. Fact 20. There are actually 5 oceans now. If you learned there are 4 oceans, Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, and Arctic, that's outdated information. In 2021, National Geographic officially recognized the Southern Ocean wrapping around Antarctica. It covers about 15% of Earth's ocean surface, making it a serious addition. You can now correctly say there are 5 oceans, not 4. Fact 19. Australia isn't the world's biggest island. You've heard Australia called the island continent, but technically it's too big to be classified as an island. Geographers define an island as land entirely surrounded by water, but smaller than a continent. That means the real biggest island is Greenland. Australia is massive, but it doesn't make the island leaderboard by definition. Fact 18. Greenland isn't independent. Greenland feels like its own frozen kingdom, but politically it's still part of the Kingdom of Denmark. It's gained autonomy over years, running domestic policies independently, but Denmark manages defense and foreign affairs. Greenland's population is around 57,000, roughly the size of a small Texas town. They're not exactly a global superpower yet. Fact 17. Earth has enough gold to cover itself completely. There's enough gold buried deep within Earth to coat the entire planet in a 1.5-foot thick layer. Most gold isn't in mines or mountains, but locked in Earth's core from planetary formation. Scientists estimate nearly 1 quadrillion tons of gold exists down there, far beyond our reach. Earth is literally sitting on unfathomable treasure. Fact 16. Lakes aren't our biggest freshwater source. When you think of freshwater, you probably picture lakes, but most freshwater is locked in ice. Nearly 3/4 of Earth's freshwater sits in glaciers and ice caps, not lakes. Lakes and rivers hold less than 1% of freshwater, so melting glaciers are directly tied to global freshwater supply and survival. Fact 15. France spans more time zones than Russia. Because of its overseas territories from Tahiti to Réunion, France stretches across 12 time zones, 13 with daylight savings. Russia only spans 11 time zones, despite being geographically larger. So while France itself fits inside Texas, its empire of islands makes it master of time. France's overseas territories make it uniquely spread across the globe. Fact 14. India is now the most populous country. For decades, China held the title of most populated country in the world unchallenged. But in April 2023, India officially took the lead, hitting 1.46 billion people. China's one-child policy and declining birth rates tipped the scales, so India now holds the record for world's largest population. Fact 13. Gibraltar's airport crosses a highway. Gibraltar International Airport has the world's only runway that cuts directly across a 4-lane highway. Traffic stops with barriers when planes take off or land, like a railroad crossing but for aircraft. Cars literally wait for Boeing 737s to pass before continuing their commute. It's aviation meeting ground traffic in the most bizarre way possible. Fact 12. The North and South Poles are human constructs. Sure, the poles exist magnetically, but North and South are purely human inventions. Ancient Egyptians actually flipped them. What we call North was their South. In space, there's no up or down, just direction. When we call Earth's top the North Pole, we're just pointing at a spinning rock and saying, that's up. Fact 11. Papua New Guinea is closer to Australia than New Zealand. On maps, Australia and New Zealand look like neighbors, but Papua New Guinea is way closer. At one point, Australia's northern island Saibai sat less than 3 miles from Papua New Guinea. Meanwhile, New Zealand's South Island sits a hefty 930 miles away from Australia. Map projections create false impressions of distance. Fact 10. Countries on the equator aren't always hot. Being on the equator doesn't automatically mean roasting temperatures anywhere. Take Quito, Ecuador. It's nearly 10,000 feet above sea level and stays a comfortable 64 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Mount Kilimanjaro has glaciers just a few degrees south of the equator. Altitude changes everything about climate and temperature. Fact 9. Central America is part of North America. This surprises many people. Central American countries like Costa Rica, Honduras, Panama, and Belize aren't in South America. They're all part of North America geographically. South America officially begins at the Colombia-Panama border. Central America is technically still northern territory on the globe. Fact 8. Portugal isn't a Mediterranean country. Portugal gets the Mediterranean climate, cuisine, and vibes, but not the geography. The Mediterranean Sea stops at the Strait of Gibraltar, meaning Portugal's coast lies entirely on the Atlantic Ocean. So sipping wine in Lisbon technically means you're sipping on the Atlantic, not the Mediterranean. Geography doesn't match the cultural image. Fact 7. Venice isn't the only city of canals. Venice gets all the romantic credit, but Amsterdam and Birmingham beat it in canal mileage. Amsterdam boasts nearly 60 miles of canals, double Venice's total. Birmingham has around 35 miles of waterways threading through the city. Venice wins on beauty, but loses on actual canal quantity. Fact 6. The Bermuda Triangle isn't mysterious. The Bermuda Triangle has been blamed for vanishing ships, missing planes, and strange disappearances for decades. But the truth is, it's no more dangerous than any other busy stretch of ocean. Most disappearances have rational explanations involving weather or human error. The mystery is completely overblown. Fact 5. A British cemetery exists in North Carolina. Tucked on the outer banks of North Carolina lies a small patch of land that officially belongs to England. It's a British cemetery honoring the crew of a naval ship sunk by a German U-boat during World War II. The land was permanently leased to the United Kingdom so the men could rest on British soil. It's technically British territory on American soil. Fact 4. The Dead Sea is dying fast. The Dead Sea's water level drops about 3 feet every single year, losing more than 100 feet since 1960. At this rate, scientists predict it could disappear entirely within 50 years. Sinkholes now appear randomly around the shoreline as underground salt deposits collapse. The world's saltiest body of water is literally evaporating before our eyes. Fact 3. The U.S. borders. 3 oceans, not 2. We all learned America touches the Atlantic and Pacific, but up north, Alaska dips into a 3rd ocean, the Arctic. So the U.S. technically spans 3 of the world's 5 oceans. Alaska makes America more geographically diverse than most people realize. It's an ocean border most Americans forget about. Fact 2. Mexico City is sinking rapidly. Mexico City, built by the Aztecs in 1325 on what was once Lake Texcoco, is actually sinking fast. The city drops by about 1 meter, 3.2 feet, every single year from aquifer depletion. Over the past 60 years, Mexico City has sunk more than 30 feet, and it's still going. It's one of the world's sinking cities with serious infrastructure consequences. Fact 1. Point Nemo, Earth's loneliest spot. Point Nemo in the Pacific Ocean is the most remote location on Earth, 1,450 miles from the nearest land in any direction. The closest humans are often astronauts on the International Space Station passing 250 miles overhead. It's so isolated that space agencies use it as a spacecraft graveyard, crashing defunct satellites there. You're literally closer to space than to civilization at Point Nemo. Mind blown. That's just the beginning. Geography is way weirder than we thought. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell so you never miss another fact that rewrites everything. Share this with your geography teacher. They need the update too.